Hey guys, it's Kusi. Welcome back to the already 4th episode of our journey to become fortunate enough to win the lottery any day now. In the last episode, we climbed our way towards Keystone Master to obtain the free heroic tier token it brings by pushing our score up to 7030 and our item level to 461. And not only did we time our first plus 18 to ensure ourselves an easy myth track item in the vault already, we absolutely annihilated that place to actually 3-chest the highest dungeon we did up to date. While in this episode, the grind of our second Mythic Plus week continues as we seek to actually do more plus 18s for us to have a second myth track item in the vault, as well as doing those dungeons we didn't do on Tyrannical yet, for maximum score before the reset. However, not everything will go as planned, since not only was a party of ours unable to finish a run completely, it was also partly Blizzard's fault that simply denied our efforts. And to top off this week, as well as this episode, we got our second vault to open, which is so damn stacked that it easily rivals the best vault setup we had on our last series already. And it's just week 2, mind you. Oh, and before I forget it, yes, the insane luck streak continues, but not like you think, it's even worse. Play the damn intro. Alright, so let's quickly rewind the important part. The last dungeon we did was an 18 Gallicon's Fall, our first 18 to be exact, and not only did we 3-chest this bitch, we also got a delayed Christmas gift by getting one of our BIS trinkets on the heroic track, meaning this will go up to 483 with the right amount of crests. It can only be topped by the very unlikely situation that the very same trinket is in our vault to come, as a myth item. But no way we get that lucky, am I right? But not only did we get blessed by this trinket, we were also fortunate enough to yoink a set of hero legs from the Demon Hunter, which means even more loot in form of a tier set upgrade. So at this point in time, we continue our grind with the item level of 461 and our first destination was Blackrock Hold. From timing that Galakrons, I got this puppy on plus 21, but you know me, being the little insecure bitch I am, and consider it, I just got carried like that one dude in any group project ever that didn't contribute shit but still gets the same price as everyone else, I lowered it to 18 instead. Now the cool thing about plus 18 keys is that those are the lowest keys you can do in order to receive the best possible rewards from your vault. So a lot of times there will be 1 or 2 people with pretty big gear queue up for this one if they can't be bothered to do their proper keys. And being the needy, greedy and spoiled little loot princess that I am, I'm all for it. So quick reminder, we are still dealing with Tyrannical, the naughty ghosts of Christmas past in Afflicted, as well as bolstering to occasionally secure an oversized mob that just loves to clap everybody's cheeks by random. Also, these are the talents I'm running for the remaining time of this Tyrannical week. Most important thing here is the D-Curse in order to help out with Afflicted. Now, besides me getting absolutely dicked down by Lady Ravencrest and her frontal, yes, I absolutely got hit by it multiple times, even though I thought I'm not in the cleave range, we made quick progress up until the first boss, at which I figured that the combination of Havoc Demon Hunter and Orc Evoker seems to be nuts. Reckon I also could pump more, but don't forget I'm dogshit. Up until the second boss, I made sure to tunnel down the Arcanists, even if it means to occasionally use Bite over Wrath to sacrifice more AoE for more tunnel damage. But considering those mages get double buffed by consecutive Arcane Blasts casts as well as bolstering, we need to put them in the dirt ASAP. Now when it comes to my overall damage in trash fights, I want to highlight that I went for a slightly more single target build, and that's why I'm lacking... Who am I kidding? I don't even do enough single target to make that shit believable. But at least I didn't die at the stairs, so who's the real winner here? Yet besides that 1 or 2 drive-by deaths, or me standing in stuff that is absolutely not necessary to stand in, this went rather smooth, up until the final boss. Here our healer perished after the first Shadow Bolt, which you would consider a big death cooldown for. Barkskin probably won't seal the deal here, and to make things even less fortunate, I was the one being targeted by Stinging Swarm, which means I also couldn't use CR on him. But hey, teach me. I'm sure there will be 1 or 2 of you in the comments be like, well actually you had 0.35 seconds to react before the swarm hits you. Just kidding. I'm actually presently surprised how very little negative comments I get for talking so much shit. We quickly laid down and went again, so we can still try to time this by +2. This time only the Orc Evoker died, which I believe had a lot to do with his item level being rather low and therefore his HP pool as well. Plus 122 score to our name, and the key I was hyped for, since it's rather an easy one if you believe the good players, and I need it for score as well. So Atal Dazar it is, and again, plus 18. Keep in mind this is only week 2, and I rather want to farm crests and get my vault set up than to boost the score already to a filthy amount. Also look at that, most dispels of the party. Don't see the Demon Hunter on that board? Surely this makes up for the 140k DPS difference. Oh,
Hello there.
I just wanted to quickly remind you that you can indeed support this Clown Fiesta, that is this 0 to 3k challenge, by leaving a like or even a free sub, so YouTube will let you know when the next one is coming. Thank you for considering, and I see you in the next episode that will be recommended to you because you subscribed. See ya! Before the key started, I just wanted to make sure that we do this proper, so I inspected our resident shaman in order to check if he has the curse skilled, which he didn't. So I politely asked him to reconsider skilling it instead, but he was apparently already on it.
That's why he's the GOAT!
Also, is it just me who really enjoys a certain amount of communication when there's time for it? Our tank told us he will pull the first 2 set of small burbs on the first boss, so we all knew not to dismount and attack. Lovely. And after our warrior pressed his swifty one-shot macro, Razan decided that I am the threat here, so he tried to chew me up. But someone used this weird shadow melt mechanic to stop him from it, which took me a few seconds to realize. Still, I'm not able to find the right decision making when it comes to using cooldowns for trash bags on Tyrannical. It makes sense to not use them right before a boss, but it also makes sense to use it on this type of pack. A lot easier on Fortified for me at least. Yet honestly, I do prefer those smaller DPS cooldowns, hence why I play with the 1 minute Convoke, even though I need to change that as soon as I get an active stat storage trinket for it. However, we did the most important part of any dungeon in Tyrannical Week, which is simply not dying to bosses, which caused us to have a rather stress-free run with pretty much 3 minutes and a bloodlust to spare for a potential 3 chest run as well. So naturally, I didn't die, as well as nobody else. So just like Galacrons, we slapped Yasma and her band of bitches back to the Shadow Realm by ending this with a +3 at 125 score to a current rating of 1977. Though what follows next was rather painful, because guess what key I've gotten? The same dungeon I started this week with, and you wanna know something funny? I actually got Throne of Tides keys on both other characters I did a weekly key on. Isn't that lovely? Now needless to mention, +21 is too rough, so we go for 18 as well. But what I didn't know at this point, that this key will be special, in more ways than one. To set the scene here, the tank and the other 2 DPS queued as a party, while the other druid also applied as a tank. Now, why did I invite a 2 tank group? Cause I'm old and I thought that druid is heal actually. We did the first pull as a proper big one, even though this would mean bolstering the 2 heavy dudes in the end, just for no one of us really putting in the damage. I mean, this DPS overall is not really good considering how many targets there were. It was on a second pull where I got the weird feeling that our fellow Kitty was actually a tank player and doesn't really play Cat too often. I believe their gear was equal to mine, while the tank was a bit higher. Yet I was still confident this will work out, even though I found myself on top of the DPS charts quite often, which honestly is more of a red flag to me than anything else. Do I have to put in the work myself for once? We arrive at the first boss, and this is where stuff gets interesting. Everything worked out fine, even though it obviously was a little bit slow with the lack of DPS, but when the stressful and chaotic part of the intermission phase was about to end, 2 of us got squirtled, while some of you might say, oh, they just stood in the swirly. I would call it an assassination. But we had 2 CRs, so this continues, and I didn't even notice it, but apparently Lil T was disconnected. Guess that was unfortunate timing then. What's even more unfortunate timing though was that the healer got targeted by shock blasts and got absolutely dicked into the ground because the shock blast and the swirlies went off at the same time. And by rewatching this, I can honestly say this was a rough situation to get out of. Now obviously there's probably something you could have done, however the blue thingy spawned literally 1 second before the blast took off. Pretty much the only thing that could have been avoided was the first step. Someone dying because of a DC after that, and then this once in a lifetime fab cave of a situation. Ah well, let's go again. Next pull and we get to the intermission again with no issue. Also, look at me using bear form to tank the shock blast like a gamer. This time we got clean through the intermission and even made it to the second one. But here our tank died by getting hit with one of the swirlies too, which caused me to lose focus as well and half-heartedly committed it, just to wipe it quicker, or at least that's what I like to believe. Maybe I just got hit as well, cause I thought I'm safe. Now besides getting blasted by avoidable things, we also lacked a bit of juice as I called it, but this party was determined to continue. But it was on the second walk of shame back to the boss when I inspected our Pharaoh to see that this gamer is actually full blown tank. Full haste verse gear, a tank trinket, guess this makes a bit more sense now. And to be honest, I didn't mind. Hell, if I would mind, I probably would have been suspicious on the double tank invite and probably dipped after inspecting. But I can honestly understand that doing this could, and I really mean could, piss off some people the wrong way. Some would may consider that you're messing up the key on purpose just to sneak in a weekly for a friend of yours. I, on the other hand, was most upset about the situation that I finally got to go head to head with another feral just for him or her to not play feral in the first place. Yet all of my thoughts there quickly vanished as we looked at something that I personally didn't experience yet. The boss room was locked. Locked as if one of us is still in there, but the boss did reset already. We considered just all dying again to potentially trigger the reset of the boss again, but that also didn't work. On DBM you can also see that the boss timers just froze, so we pretty much had no other choice but to end this run, even though I was really curious about what would happen on the following bosses, to be honest. But since I was far from done, I queued again to do the 17 instead, cause we need to do one more 18 after all. We also got the beautiful presence of an Elemental Shaman in our party this time, which is a rare sight, but since I did play Elemental in the Season 2 Zero to Hero challenge, I got a soft spot for my Storm Yeeters. And as you can guess, this went a little bit better. No one did anything goofy on the first boss, and the second one also got manhandled pretty well, while I tried my best to compete with the Demo Lock in damage. Until I found out that he was just hard stuck at 140k DPS and I kept dropping. Third boss again no issue, but my desire to repair in that one damn dungeon where you can't mount just continues. Totally forgot to do that after the failed 18 just now. But hey, no more dying and we are fine. Ah shit. Well, turns out the biggest issue so far was the gauntlet, even though it's tyrannical. Who would have thought? While starting the final boss fight, in a serious attempt to two-chest this one, our tank reminded us about what will happen if he decides to go right and just not stay in range of the boss anymore. Unlucky. We went again and did it better this time, ending the key with not only 62 score to our name, but also Keystone Master, which means we are 2/3 down to our final goal. And this also ensures us an extra heroic item level tier set piece of our choosing, which I didn't spend while deciding to wait out the weekly reset instead. I told you we played smart in this series. Now, besides having one more 18 on our wishlist in order to prep the insane vault to come, I also need 2 more dungeons for score. First in line was an Everbloom 11 that went eventless and almost boring, so I skipped that for you, but don't worry, we got another Everbloom coming. That's 68 rating to our name and an overall of 2107 already. Next we got another +11 in Waycrest Manor, which I also will spare for you, not because we got another one coming, but because this went silky smooth as well. In this one though, I also used my luck for my gang. You see, since I don't need anything from a +11, I decided to roll for balance to potentially get the big bursty trinket people just want to get. And you will not believe what happened. I did get a trinket in the end, but the other one. Guess my looting superpowers aren't supposed to be for others? Yet 2 of the party wanted it, so it wasn't wasted by all means. Good guy Paul. Another 51 rating, and with that we turn our attention to Murozon's Rise, which was the key I've gotten from Dawn of Tides earlier. Attempting our final +18 for our vault to ensure the second max item level choice. We started this off with not kicking the volleys, and either we got slapped by 2 of them at the same time, or by one big bolstered cast. Not sure, but it sent 4 of us with a one-way ticket to Narnia real quick. Tier went like it should be, besides me being the good guy and soaking the tank buster even with the debuff, just for the rest of the gang to ignore it and watch me die. Another #cucked moment in my book. After that, we made quick work again of the Gauntlet minigame, and even though I could just whip out another adult film industry name and make a joke about choking, bursting, busting, and #nofap, which I will absolutely do in the future, don't worry, I decided not to do that today. We need to change things up after all. Clearing our way towards the Alliance Fort Warzone, I was a bit worried cause this boss is always a pain in the half on Tyrannical. Easily the hardest one to play since the damage patterns are quite random. Oh, also, at this time, I've read some balance changes that are already in place when you watch this video about this dungeon. A lot of things got nerfed by a very substantial amount. Good for us. Morchi on the other hand, you guessed it, Shadow Realm. On Deus however, you will not believe what is about to happen. Something even greater than good loot, more DPS, or finding the love of your life in dark times. I f***ing survived the entire boss fight. No more dirt nap. And for you guys that watched the entire series so far, you know how huge this is. But you also know how it works. If you don't die on the final boss instantly, you won't get any loot either. And with this, we gotten ourselves a pretty fat vault for the coming reset. 3 normal raid slots, which besides 1 item are completely useless, and 2 slots with a potential banger that would be already the highest possible item level after upgrades. Mind you, we are still on week 2. Now for the last dungeon that was a need for me in terms of slightly more score, extra worm crests and potentially get a big trinket was another Everbloom. plus 12 this time, and yes, I didn't get invited to anything higher. This one was a bit different than usual though, cause besides the mage and probably myself, the rest of the party probably wanted to do this as a weekly key. Mind you, it's the evening before the reset right now, so this one went pretty slow, but that's okay, considering the tank pulled what he could handle and didn't necessarily take the peer pressure the mage was throwing onto him. Until we got to the second boss. Now, on most cases, you try to nuke down Telu first, while also tanking the only movable boss onto him for extra cleave, which is huge if you have a frost mage in your party like we do. But I guess that the tank would rather sit on Gola to interrupt the heal whenever it's happening, so we just nuked the right boss down until the heal got through. In those situations it's always nice to play the most utility you can do. I think our mage could have spell stolen the heal if he has the ability for it, which doesn't justify that it happened, but you could have potentially saved the pull. Ah well, we continued to fight and the heal got through again. So we went again, and here a few afflicted casts got through, which obviously is also my part to take care of, but honestly a lot of times I was so overwhelmed with what's happening that I totally missed the voice queue or DBM call for it, which led to me not even registering that those are up. And on top of that, it seems like our healer had some big issues keeping the party alive when being so spread out. That paired with the haste decrease from afflicted casts got pretty rough. But the gang finished the fight without me in the end. And before we started the third boss, I called out that we are missing percentage, which I guess they didn't believe, so we pulled regardless, and we actually killed Soul in the first attempt. Not what I was expecting, considering the chaos this boss lets loose. But yeah, we moved back for another 2 mobs and then went for the final boss, which also dropped down in the first attempt, leading to actually 0 gain score, but a chest item, which I gladly take, considering mine is still an adventure piece and it's stuck at 450. And with that, we end our second week of Mythic Plus on our 0 to 3k journey with a whopping 2192 score and an item level of, well, 463 I guess. 26 keys already to our name, but I'm fine, don't worry about me, please send help. Weekly reset. Best day of the week. Or worst, considering the outcome. Unfortunately, no weekly event we could consider, so we go straight ahead to the promised land, and you know me, I'm a simple guy. Just give me ashes or the Witherbarks branch from Everbloom on max item level. I don't need much more than that. Oh, you gotta be kidding me!